Not all angels are fluffy. The essence of warriorship, or the essence of human bravery, is refusing to give up on anyone or anything. Chogyam Trungpa. The word warrior had never really been part of my vocabulary until I took up yoga. In yoga, warrior poses are frequent. In fact, I don't think I've ever been to a dynamic yoga class that didn't have one. So for the last 8 years, I've been doing these poses quite a lot. Yet until recently, I never considered myself a warrior. When I thought about warriors, I thought about armor and battles, not very spiritual, or so I thought. For me, as for many people, being spiritual and being a warrior were concepts that couldn't have been further apart. There's a widespread idea that being spiritual is all about love, light, and fairy dust, whatever the circumstances. I have to be honest, though. I've not always resonated with pastels, or all-white clothing, or unicorns, as cool as the idea may be, or being able to ignore someone when they're being rude. I've always struggled with that one. Even worse, while touring my last book, Raise Your Vibration, I realized that being a light worker had become a new trend. I knew that many of the people who resonated with the term were doing incredible work sharing their light with the world. But I also recognized that others were just jumping on the label as if it was a new fashion, and taking action to change the world was as easy as dyeing your hair pink. For me, being a light worker isn't about posing, it's about doing the work. If we sign up for the mission to support the growth of our planet, we have to turn up for it. This turning up isn't about posting our latest crystal purchase on Instagram, although I've been known to do this. It's about showing up for our spiritual practice, facing our shit, not putting glitter on it, and aligning ourselves with the universe. It's about service. It's about being the embodiment of an angel on earth. When I was considering this idea, it got me thinking. Not all angels are fluffy. Not all angels sit on a cloud playing the harp. Some angels wear armor and carry weapons. They are fierce warriors. Look at the best known angel there is, Archangel Michael. If you Google image him, you'll see a strong and ferociously handsome angel dressed in armor, holding a sword, usually with some fire on it, standing on top of Lucifer. The story goes in my own words, but based on the book of Revelation, that Lucifer, who became the devil, was causing a bit of a riot up in heaven. He thought he was sharper and cooler than God. God supposedly wasn't happy about this, and so he called upon Michael and his legion of angels to take care of the pest. This is a powerful allegory showing that love, in this case, Michael, is much more powerful than fear, in this case, the devil. It's a tale that shows us that warriors can be fiercely powerful and yet completely fueled by love. Angels are warriors of love. They have to be warriors to help us overcome our own dilemmas, traumas, and fears. So if light workers are embodiments of angels on earth, they don't always have to be the fluffy type of angel. They can be the fierce kind too. They can be light warriors. This idea helped me because I'd often wondered if I was good enough to be spiritual. Let's face it though, I really believed in helping others and living a life with integrity and purpose. I've not always been passive in my approach. To be honest, I've been a bit of a badass. I checked the dictionary definition of warrior, and I found, especially in former times, a brave or experienced soldier or fighter. The synonyms were just as intense: fighter, soldier, fighting man, serviceman, combatant, brave. But the warriorship I was thinking about wasn't about fighting with your fists or fighting with your mind. It was about connecting with the incredible power of spirit within to overcome darkness, challenge, and fear. So I looked up spiritual warrior. The term spiritual warrior is used in Tibetan Buddhism for one who combats the universal enemy, self-ignorance, Advaita, the ultimate source of suffering, according to Buddhist philosophy. A heroic being with a brave mind and ethical impulse. Bam. There it was. Light warriors in action. A light worker is a soul who hears the cry to help change the world, and a light warrior is a soul who consciously chooses to respond. We live in a world where light warriors have made great healing shifts and are still doing so today. They don't have to come from a particular tradition or religion. There are many of them all over the planet, and some of them don't even know that they're warriors. They're just responding to the call to change the world. Most of us don't know about these unsung heroes either, but there are many light warriors we do not know and whose work we can use as an inspiration for our own spiritual journey. I'm thinking of people like Gandhi, who, though he fought for Indian independence from the British Empire, was totally dedicated to nonviolence. He stood so strong and encouraged so many to stand with him, and even though he went to hell and back, his work did help his cause, and he didn't lift a finger. He lifted his heart. That's what being a light warrior is all about. Another example is Martin Luther King Jr., the American Baptist minister who had complete faith in God as he encouraged nonviolent action to change America through civil rights movement. It gives me goosebumps to think of the work he did at a time when people were being falsely accused, imprisoned, beaten, and even murdered just because of the color of their skin. He knew that he could make a difference, and he devoted his life to helping make his vision a reality. I bow to the spirit of Martin Luther King. Thank you. I also think of other spiritual warriors, some more extreme than others, like the Vietnamese monk, Thich Quang Duc, who set himself on fire in protest against the persecution of Buddhist monks in 1963. A photograph of this was published in newspapers around the world, resulting in international pressure on the Vietnamese regime to change their treatment of Buddhists. I once saw an interview on the Oprah Winfrey Show with Thich Nhat Hanh, another Vietnamese spiritual warrior and a personal hero of mine, who led a peaceful protest against the Vietnamese Civil War. In the interview, he discussed his relationship with Martin Luther King and revealed that he written him a letter explaining that Thich Quoc Deuce's self-immolation was not suicide. He said that it was through compassion that he'd taken what appeared to be such a drastic step. It was an act of love and not despair. I don't feel self-immolation is what we need to do to make a difference, even though I can see that what Thich Quoc Deuce did was an act of true courage. We don't have to act on a global scale either. Being a light warrior can simply be vowing to change your part of the world and being an active light wherever you are. A light that can inspire others. Recently, many First Peoples of the United States came together in the Standing Rock Native American Reservation in North and South Dakota, standing together with the Great Spirit to protect their sacred land and water from an oil pipeline that was likely to pollute the water and threaten nature. Though they weren't as successful as they'd hoped, they have inspired people around the world. Another inspirational light warrior is one of my personal heroines, Louise Hay. After being diagnosed with cancer in her late 50s, she felt the call to do mental, emotional, and spiritual work instead of going down the medical route. She felt that her cervical cancer was the product of deep resentment that was connected to emotional and sexual abuse from her childhood. She took to making daily affirmations, releasing anger, forgiving others, and doing daily mirror work where she told herself regularly, as she still does, that she loved and approved of herself. And after several months of this, she was able to get the medical professionals to agree with what she already knew, that she was free of cancer. Louise was already a healer, but this gave her work a new understanding and authenticity that allowed her to help people find the emotional causes behind physical ailments and the new thoughts to heal them. When the AIDS crisis broke out in the 1980s, Louise really stepped into her ability to bring change to the world. It started when she received a phone call from someone who had AIDS and had nowhere to turn. No one knew how to help them. So Louise started a group at her home and did what she'd always done. Spoke about love and invited anyone who had anything positive to share it. Before she knew it, she was hosting meetings in a football field because so many people were coming out to hear her loving wisdom. Louise was a catalyst for huge change, and her book, You Can Heal Your Life, went on to sell over 50 million copies. It's my #1 book recommendation. It has changed many lives and was the foundation for Hay House Publishers, which has become a powerful platform for spiritual teachers and authors like me to share their sacred work. What I've come to see is that the light warriors who have gone before us all have something in common, and it's the work they do within. Light warriorship may require action, but it also requires a deep internal connection and devotion to love. Light warriors not only stand up for what they believe in, they also trust that a higher power, whatever they may call it, is helping them, guiding them towards the changes they feel inspired to create. These changes take many forms, as do the warriors themselves. Here are some of my names for light warriors who perform specialist roles, along with a quick look at what they do. Peacekeepers. It's no surprise to learn that these warriors do their best to bring peace to their homes, families, communities, and workplaces. At times, to their own detriment. These amazing people need to be supported and to find their internal warrior, because they can become incredible leaders of love. Some of them may work behind the scenes. Examples of this would be staff who work for world leaders but don't share their belligerent stance, and who work quietly in the background to ease situations and find diplomatic solutions. Change agents. Change agents are the amazing people who lovingly inspire change in others. Often based on their own healing journey, they just want to make a positive difference to others, because helping others feel like food for their soul. An example of a change agent would be a sponsor in an Alcoholics Anonymous who has been through the 12-step program and is now lovingly guiding others through it. Or someone who was once imprisoned and is now a counselor to those who are behind bars. Miracle makers. These souls are ones who demonstrate the power of love and kindness everywhere they go, which can make real miracles. I think the Dalai Lama is a great example, because even though his people have lost their country, temples, and even lives, he goes around the world trying to inspire kindness rather than seek retribution. My prayer is that the good karma he has created will bless all the people involved in this situation and lead to the miracle of peace. Miracle makers aren't always high profile, though. A colleague at work or a lady sitting next to you on the bus could easily be one. How would you know? Miracle workers, miracle makers, are dedicated to love. It's who they are, and it's all they share. Undercover light workers. This group of badasses with good asses are my favorite. They're the ones who are out there on the front line, try to inspire international corporations, big pharma, big oil, and so on, to act in a more ethical manner. They might work for companies we don't all support and carry out policies we don't all agree with, but if they weren't in place, maybe worse things would happen. My being where they are, they may be able to bring about meaningful shifts that contribute to healing the world. I know one person who has been criticized because of the company they're working for. But if people could see beyond their own opinion, they see that they're helping so many people from the inside through charity and community outreach. We must stay open to the miraculous. Choosing the warrior path. Right now, all over the world, there are many unrecognized spiritual leaders, light warriors, and change bringers. We need them more than ever. We need to become them more than ever. There is enough room for us all, and we need to rise up. If you feel that call to make a difference, to bring change, to bring light, then this is your time. You've probably already acted as a light warrior in your day-to-day life without even realizing it. How? Just the other day I was driving to the gym when I felt a tug to take a different route from normal. It was pouring with rain and I saw police cars, 3 cars ahead of me, so I was driving a little more slowly than normal, when for some reason my gaze was directed to the pavement, and there she was, a little lady had slipped over in the rain. Her shopping bags were everywhere, and she was face down, covered in blood. The 3 cars in front didn't stop, including the police. But I did. I introduced myself straight away and wanted her to feel safe because, let's be honest, I'm a 6-foot guy with a big car. I asked her how long she'd been down there for, and she said about 10 minutes, and no one had noticed her. I was able to help her to get home, get cleaned up, and get her husband home early. He was so pleased I'd got her home safely, and since I've heard, she's doing well. Stepping onto the warrior path can be as simple as helping someone who needs it. It's about doing the right thing. It's also about standing strong with someone who needs it. It's about showing fierce love. Here are some other examples of stepping into light warriorship. Standing up for someone who's being bullied at work, at school, or in the street. Speaking to someone you know no one else is speaking to. I've heard this can even save lives. Performing a random act of kindness. Standing up for an animal you know is being mistreated. Stopping someone from doing something that you know will cause harm or distress to others. Stepping in and splitting up a fight. Helping someone who's being racially targeted. Let's get this clear though. Being a light warrior doesn't mean you're running around getting involved in altercations wherever you go. It's essentially a peaceful path. It's about standing in the light and choosing not to be moved from it. A light warrior also chooses to become a light that inspires change, a light that serves, inspires, and loves. They reclaim the space that is rightfully theirs, meaning they don't get pulled down by the drama or the expectations of those around them, but let their light shine out. They choose to be a force of love rather than be pulled into their own worst nightmare by fear. They know they are connected to love. They are ready to look into their own eyes and see the awesome presence of love shining behind them. I suppose you could say being a light warrior is essentially being a light worker, only with a black belt and badassery. It's choosing to be fierce, strong, and fiery, with a huge serving of love. The true warrior. I've had a deep calling to serve since I was very young, a desire to be a support, inspiration, and guide to others. I've always had great empathy for others, particularly those who have been pulled into the deep, dark hole of their own fear. I believe in supporting people and serving as an example to show that anything is possible. Over the last few years, I've experienced some harsh criticism. People have claimed I'm not spiritual enough, and asked how I dare teach people about raising their vibration while still using swear words, or even worse, drinking coffee. Don't even dare try to come between me and my latte. People have said to me, shock alert, that having an alcoholic beverage can take us away from spirit. Don't worry, that's just not true. Here's what I've learned. We can't not be spiritual. Simply because we are spirit. It's who we are. Sure, we can either deny our spiritual roots or develop our spiritual practice, but we are spirit, and that's that. Gin and tonic for me, thanks. Vibration is important, though, so I get where these critics are coming from. When we align ourselves with a lower vibration or a word that doesn't seem high vibe, we can lower our frequency, become less aware of our spiritual nature. But what if we didn't see any of those practices as low vibe? Would they have the same effect then? The point I'm making is that being a warrior is about developing your own spiritual connection and doing what feels right for you. It's about doing what honors your own sense of worth. Basically, being a light warrior is about being yourself, being true to yourself, being authentic. It's about moving to a place of self-acceptance, because through accepting yourself, you are energetically bringing acceptance into the world. It's not about looking spiritual or appearing spiritual or running off to join some ashram tucked away in the Himalayas. Trust me, I've done it for us all. It's about lighting up wherever you are now, however you are now, and realizing all that you are doing internally on a spiritual level is also serving the world. What you do for yourself on the inside is ultimately what you are offering up on the outside. So being a light warrior is about finding the balance between give and take. It's about making sure that you have enough energy, love, and focus to go out there and serve to the best of your ability. If swearing helps you do that, fine. Warriors aren't here to adhere to the rules of other people's egos or expectations. They're here to follow the lights of their own soul and serve the world in a way that also serves them. Your vision of spiritual and my vision of spiritual may be different, but the true heart of a warrior embraces this entirely. Are you ready to awaken your warrior hearts?